Hey guys, it doesn't matter, and
Ellen the Dream.
And this is episode 37 of our podcast, Confessions of a Stan Mixer edition. Today we are going to be talking about episode 3 of The Search, and it is the girl vocal group category. Okay, so jump right in. It starts off with a little cute opening of the girls scaring Pez.
I have so many questions about that scene.
I'm kind of confused about it because obviously the set is meant to look super abandoned, but Perry is looking at what it looks like cameras, which makes me think there's still a crew. Yeah. So she does that, and she's like, "No, but really, where is everyone?"
Yeah, because I was like, did they go on a break or something? I was like, how did she get separated from them? I
feel like she
just disappear.
Yeah, I feel like they must have just gone on a break. Maybe she went to go see Hatchie or something.
Yeah, use the bathroom or
yeah.
I don't know. I just was so confused because I was like, how did she lose them? They were right there.
Yeah. So, but I thought it was cute. It does make me kind of and I have this thought for later on in the episode too. It's very clear to me that they're not scripted, but it's very clear that these moments aren't accidental. I don't want to say planned. I think they are authentic, but they're not an accident. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's someone or them themselves who are intentionally creating this free time between auditions and the beginning, whatever, and maybe encouraging or the girls just know that they're supposed to interact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're very much set up to make the girls relatable and get their friendship across. It's too, because we see them in interviews, right? We see their genuine friendship moments, and these feel more, I don't know what the right word is, intentional. These feel more intentional. I don't want to give you the impression that I think they're fake, but they just feel like they're not an accident.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about some of them later in the episode, but this was one of those times where I was I feel like maybe there was a producer suggestion.
Yeah.
You know?
A little guidance.
Yeah. Okay, so then we moved on to Tamara's edition. She was first. I have to say, I thought this was such an interesting way to start off the episode. First of all, Leslie were vibing.
They really were.
They were so into it together. They kept looking at each other. They kept and I was just they're in love. And so they were totally vibing together. But then the deliberation afterwards, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was Leslie fighting so hard for her, and Perry being not stubborn or not in a negative way, but just being confident in her no. And it was interesting to me because when Perry was saying when she was explaining to Tamara when you sing low, and you could hear Jessie mutter yeah, she can't control her voice. And I was just I thought it was so, I mean, it was funny, but I also just thought it was so interesting that Jessie was yeah, I know, I heard it, I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the other girls didn't comment on it really. And so you're thinking oh, is it something only Perry noticed? And then you hear Jessie muttering oh, get over it. I mean, she didn't say get over it. She literally said something she said something like I said the first time around, something like, yeah, she can't control her voice when she goes low. But I just thought it was really interesting. And then I felt like Pessy's whole exchange was really interesting because I felt like I don't know, like I think of Perry being very vocally technique person. And I do not think of Jessie that way at all.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess kind of because she doesn't warm up.
Yeah.
Which sounds a little dumb when you say it out loud. But in my head, because she was like, I don't think it does anything, whatever. I don't do it. Which, I mean, she did say that like years ago. Who knows? She could do it now. But in my head, it just kind of made me think that like, not that she's not vocally capable, because obviously she is, but that she was less concerned with the technical aspect.
Yeah.
And that she was relying more on like natural talent. I don't know, but that's why it was really interesting to me to see her being the one going up against Perry. Because I would have thought it would have been Leigh-anne.
Yeah.
But Leigh-anne was the one who like convinced Jade.
Yeah, that's true.
So they did just like kind of like switch off. Like Jessie took Perry and then Leigh-anne like was like, Jade, don't do it.
Yeah, I love how like they were all talking right in front of her and she was just like, hey, like I was like, I'm still here. That part was really funny. Like, that must have been so nerve-wracking.
Honestly. What was the rest of Perses' conversation? Because I actually thought it was so funny because they continued it. Like after she left and Jade said yes, Perses were still like going at it. Not going at it. They weren't like, they wasn't like aggressive.
Bickering about it.
Like Perry immediately goes like, she has bad habits. And Jessie's like, that can be changed. It's fine.
Jessie's like, it's fine.
Just like, I don't care.
Yeah, something I really liked, like what Perry said to her was like, to Marcia was like, prove to me it's nerves and not habit. I thought that was just like a really smart way of like, and like just a more positive way of being like, prove to me that you aren't like you were capable of doing it. Like instead of being like, I don't know. I just thought that was a really nice way to have worded it.
I agree. I thought that was a way to make it like constructive.
That to make it didn't seem like she was downing her.
Yeah, I did. I liked that.
Because it said she still believed in her.
Yeah. And then I also liked what Jade said, which is like, Jade said, you know, I understand if you can't hit the notes when you're nervous, but like, you know that you have to come in here and kill it. And that means that like, you have to be able to hit those notes whether you're nervous or not. And I thought that that was also really interesting. And just like good advice in general. Anyone like sitting at home, who wants to like audition for like a talent show like that, because I feel like sometimes people will pick songs that are like slightly out of their league, you know, like they can sing it but they can't sing it perfectly. And they're doing it because they want to like show off to the best of their ability, but then like that means they make a couple mistakes, you know. And so I thought it was interesting that Jade was like kind of implying that like it's better to come in and sing a song you can absolutely nail than to come in and sing a song where you might have like a oops, you know. I don't know, I just thought the whole thing was so interesting. I thought it was like such an interesting way to begin the episode, because I think it's kind of the first time we've seen them clash, right?
Yeah, I think so far that's the first time we've seen them like disagree.
Yeah, Perses' arguments were really interesting because I felt like it was representative of them as singers almost. Because Jessie was like, habits can be changed. And I think like she might think that because she had to change her habits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perry, on the other hand, Perry has always been very much about vocal technique. And so, and she like grew up with like musical family and singers. For her, she's like, can she though? Like if you have bad habits your entire life, like, and so it was interesting. I felt like, I don't know, I just thought it was interesting, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then Liz was next.
I liked her.
I liked her. I didn't like her pronunciation.
I liked her energy. That's what I have written down.
I did. I liked her energy. I thought she was a good performer. And I liked her tone, but like I couldn't understand a word she was saying.
Oh.
I thought Jessie's comment was interesting to her though, because she was like, I see you as a solo artist.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, if you sing like this and you perform like this now, and you're only, I forget what it was, 17, 18, then like, what are you going to be like in your 20s?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because the girls, whether intentionally or not, don't ever really imply most of the time that being in a group is a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
Or that like it means you're not talented enough to be on your own. But that was kind of what, not that you're not talented enough to be in the group, but Jessie was kind of like saying like a group is a crutch.
Yeah.
You should be put in a group if you need that support in order to grow as an artist. And then you can all grow together. But if you're already here, you'll outpace the other people we put you with.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it really was. Something that like I thought during that audition was like, I wonder what age demographic they were expecting. Because every time someone that was really young came on, they got really surprised.
I believe like the limit was 16.
Yeah, so like every time like somebody would come in that was like 16, 17, they'd be so shocked. But I was like, but what age were they like expecting? Like, because I feel like the majority of them were like, I want to say like 17, 18 through like early 20s.
Early 20s, yeah. I think that I took it more as like the girls not being surprised at like the fact that young people showed up, but surprised that like when like you meet someone new and you're like, oh my God, you're that old?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, I wonder what their demographic they thought would be.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just curious. I was thinking about that during this episode.
Okay, moving on to Tyler. So I really liked her tone, and she's obviously super talented. I didn't like the song choice or performance.
Yeah, I feel like she could have probably chose a better song that would have like showcased her voice even more. But I'm a Tyler stan. I'm not biased, but anybody who followed me on Twitter during this episode knows what I'm talking about.
I loved her tone. I just like, I found myself like drifting off during the performance.
Yeah, I think because it was a slower song, right?
Yeah, it was a slower song. Her performance, like a factor, like wasn't the best. It wasn't bad, but like it wasn't engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like it was a slower song, and I just didn't feel like she emotionally was connecting with it. And so like I wasn't emotionally connecting with it.
Yeah, that might be it.
But I'm also not like a huge Mariah fan. Oh God, I'm about to get hate for that. So I feel like maybe if I like liked the song more, I would have liked the performance better.
Yeah, I mean probably because that's how I am a lot of the time. Like I'll watch like auditions on YouTube of like The Voice or something, but I'm more drawn to the songs that I know.
Next notes I have are the girls playing around with a heart. And then I missed this the first time I watched it. And by first time, I mean like the first few times I watched it because I've watched this more than once. They do a random ass harmony right before Shanice's audition.
Yeah.
And like we don't see the context at all. They're just doing it.
There's a lot of things that were out of context in this episode. I feel like there were so many things.
Yeah, honestly.
But that's one of my notes. This episode had a lot of random clips between auditions.
It did. I was just surprised because like at that time, I think the girls playing around was like, it was the finger biting. And then like suddenly it was just like harmony, and then it was like, all right, we're done. Let's look at the thing. Like,
yeah, I have no idea.
and then Shanice did Jesse's audition song.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of things happened with her, but I literally just wrote down Perry, LOL.
Yeah. I can't.
She was just like at one point she's like got her foot up in the air with her shoe in front of Lee's face, and Lee's like holding it.
Yeah.
And like she was like grabbing them all. She like reached over leigh-anne to like grab Jesse's arm. Like,
yeah, I remember I like had looked down for like a second to like grab something. I looked back up and she's just like spread across. I was like, all right.
Like her head's over by Jade. Like,
yeah, they were all just holding her.
And I was just like, oh God, Perry. Oh God. I know other things happen, but like that's what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what else happened. I remember like the discussion afterwards was interesting. I just don't remember what it was.
Yeah, same.
It was all positive, so whatever.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, what was it? Rakaya was next? Is that how you say it?
I think
Rakaya or Rakaya?
I think it was Rakaya. I don't know. I think so.
I think it is. Sorry for butchering it. What I loved about her was like her energy and personality.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't like blown away by her voice, but I like was really engaged in her performance.
Yeah. Something that I thought was like really interesting about her was that like her voice was really clean. So like this is gonna sound weird, but when there was like a part in the song that she spoke, I think like she wasn't singing, but it didn't sound weird or out of place. Like it worked, and I feel like very few people have that type of voice where it sounds right. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, usually when like someone switches out of singing to like say something in the middle of it, you're like, oh, like
yeah, and it like just doesn't sound right. But when she did it, it sounded right. I don't know. It's just like something I had noted because I thought it sounded just really cool.
Let's see, Jessica. She didn't get through. I thought this was like so weird to watch because they literally didn't say one negative thing about her, but they were like, bye.
Yeah. I was like, all right. Guess we're saying bye. Like, so much stuff got cut out.
I know. I mean, like, I understand what they said, like, that she just didn't fit with the group they had.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I was thinking about, like, if I was her, I would have been, like yo-yoing. Yeah. Because, like, they praised you, and then like, was it Jessie who kicked it off? And it was, all right, Jessie, you start. And then she was like, I love you. It's a no. Like, I would have been so confused if I was her. Then we got the talking head interview. I love the talking head interviews. They're so cute.
I love how they start, like, not right at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. That, like, they're just kind of like a nice, like, shake up in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
The first talking head portion was like, just he was saying like the best thing about being in a group was like all the firsts together, and they talked about like their first shopping together. And I thought it was so cute that like Jerry had never been to Camden.
Yeah.
And that like they bought matching outfits, which I think is hilarious because like they've like matched a total of like 5 times their entire career. But I just thought like it was so cute. And then I also like it felt bittersweet. All of the talking head interviews are going to feel bittersweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I just thought it was really cute because like the way like especially the way like Perry reacted to Jessie like bringing it up was like really cute. Because she like got all excited, and I don't know, I just thought it was cute. Maya Louise, I wrote her name down and I wrote nothing else down.
I don't even have her in here. Like, I have something that might be from her, but there's no name next to it. Like, it's just a really random thing, but I don't think it's from her.
I mean, like, I remember her audition for the most part, and like they loved her. I feel like I watched her. She was super talented. I didn't dislike her voice, but like I also clearly like wasn't super interested because I had nothing to say after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a thing. And then we got another talking head.
Woo!
Bittersweetness and the fact that leigh-anne was talking about how their blend was magic.
Yeah.
And like it was meant to be. And I was like, oh.
It was sad watching that one.
But I also thought it was really cute that Jessie brought up that she'd never heard a harmony in real life before.
Oh, yeah.
And then like she got really excited when like she did one for the first time with them. And I was actually really like, I found it really interesting because they'd never talked about that before. We only ever read it in their book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it was cool to see it kind of corroborated on video.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cute. And also it just makes me really appreciate like how hard they worked in the beginning, because for Jessie to have like not even known how to harmonize, they nailed the harmonies from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they weren't as good as they are now, but I feel like when you put into context like what other groups sound like at that time in their career when they're first formed, they really had harmonies like down for that point in their career, and they had like the blend down, and it really just like makes me think about like how hard they worked in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then Esther came in with her blue hair and her blue dress.
I love how she was hyping herself up.
I know.
I love that.
She was too much for me though, personality wise.
Oh, really?
If I was hanging out with you, I'd be exhausted at the end.
Oh.
But that's just like my introvert ways. But she was super talented.
Mm-hmm.
I have noted here next that like it was kind of awkward to watch this part in hindsight. To like see the girls commenting backstage in the band room. Because to like know how it worked out.
Yeah.
With like Maya Louise and Tyler leaving because of like implied not great dynamics.
Yeah.
Anything else for auditions?
Let me see. I have like random things that like don't really line up with anything, so let me just see where they
Go
are.
for it.
So I feel like this band room had a lot more chemistry than the last two. Like it wasn't like, I mean, the last two weren't super awkward, but like I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this one just seemed a lot more like hyped when they were watching. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
they
more
seem to
vocal
kind of
about
be
it.
like more interactive.
Yeah, that's what it is. So I thought that was interesting to see. And then this one, like I said before, there just were so many random clips between the auditions. Like the whole like Jade auditioning, that like I just have so many questions.
Like that's what I mean when I say like the girls were told to like go play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely were like, okay, you just have fun.
like we're gonna record you. It's a 15-minute break. Like do things. Because every single episode has them, and so you just know that like it was planned into the show.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that makes them any less great. They're still great moments. I still love them, but like it always makes me think about how carefully Little Mix planned the show and crafted the image they wanted.
Yeah.
To present to the UK.
Yeah. There's just watching it with no context is just so funny. Like it's like, oh, okay.
They just like cut together random ones.
Yeah. Like it made no sense, but and so yeah, these auditions were just, I feel like the auditions were really good. There was a lot of random clips, and that's a good way to sum up the auditions. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like, leading us into like the rehearsal section, I feel like this rehearsal was definitely one of the better ones so far. As in, they seemed more prepared.
They definitely did seem more prepared. I found it the least interesting because we saw so little of it.
Yeah, they didn't give us too many arrangements. They just gave us the two separate groups. Then there was like, okay. And I was like, all right. I will say though, like I liked how when it got to the elimination stage, they didn't just eliminate people just because they like were supposed to. I like how they actually like were like, oh, I don't know, let's give them a chance to like see, instead of just singling two out, being like, okay, bye-bye. Like,
Yeah. I thought the back and forth that Leslie had was really interesting. Jesse was saying we have to consider like how they look together.
Yeah.
And Lee was saying, well, if this is about only vocals, then we should just put them together based on vocals. And I thought that was like an interesting kind of debate. I mean, they didn't really like debate it, but like interesting thought to consider. I feel like I kind of fall on the side of you should consider how they look together, because I think you have to consider the longevity of their potential career.
Yeah, like blend can be improved upon.
Yeah, like vocals can be improved, blend can be improved, harmonies can be practiced. But you have to be able to cultivate a brand and an image that appeals to people
from the very beginning.
Yeah, and that's very vision based, like visual. If you were making the group in a vacuum, yeah, just do vocals. But if you were going to make it with the intent for them to go on to be successful, then you should consider it.
Yeah, I'm kind of where you are, because I feel like vocals can be improved upon, like that can be worked on, but you need to establish your image like right from the very beginning. So if it doesn't look like they look like a group, then people aren't going to see them as a group.
Yeah, they gotta look cohesive.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that Leslie were the ones who were debating it, when in like auditions they were the ones who were like on one side and Jerry was on the other. So I just think like how that was interesting, how it like they started like going against each other.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't fighting, guys, for anyone who hasn't seen the show. It wasn't
they weren't fighting.
They weren't like going at each other, but it's just interesting that like they were so united during auditions. Like I don't think they disagreed once. And maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I don't think they did. But then in rehearsals, they were like going back and forth, you know?
And the same thing happened with Jerry during like the final lineup things, like in I think it was like the last episode, how they were united in auditions, and then it got down to the end and they were like not agreeing on the same person.
It's
so interesting.
It's funny how like as you get further in, how like the dynamics change. I loved Jade talking about when she was talking to them about like the levels and the dynamics in the group vocally, and like having to learn when you need to pull back and like when you need to push your voice forward in order to blend. And she was talking about like we've had to learn that and how to do that and like da 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 da. And I just thought that was really interesting, especially since Little Mix is so good at it.
Yeah, I liked how they use themselves as an example, like how they're able to do that.
Yeah, so I think that's really interesting. I would love for Little Mix to like actually talk about that stuff more often, but they never do. Ever.
Yeah.
Like I would love to hear more about like what it was like learning to harmonize with each other, which is like what Lee talked about in the beginning, that they worked really, really hard. And I'm like, great, tell me about it. Or like Jade mentions that like you have to like learn when to pull back and like when to push forward so that like it sounds right, and that you don't like overpower a melody, and they like briefly mention it throughout the series, but I really would just love an interview where they talk more about that stuff. I mean, this isn't related to the search, but you know.
In addition.
Yeah. And then I thought it was really cute, Perry admitting she was wrong about Tamara.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't do this. Ask my boyfriend, but I was wrong about you.
Yeah, that was sweet.
On to the stage concert?
Yeah, that's what I have next.
Okay. I thought it was funny how like Perry was like, they like just sat down in the chairs, and Perry's like, I don't want to lose anyone, and Jay's like, we can't have a choir, hun.
We can't have a choir. That's like the first thing I have written down. We can't have a choir, hun.
I just thought that was funny.
Thank you.
And then during the actual like performance, Shanice really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Way more than she did in auditions or rehearsals.
Yeah, I feel like everybody pretty much held their own. Like there wasn't anybody I was like Oh, I remember them being better, I feel like.
No, there wasn't anyone necessarily that thought like, oh, I remember them being better, but I definitely felt like they weren't necessarily on all the same level during the performance.
Yeah, you could tell
Yeah.
by watching it.
Who stuck out to me was Shanice and kind of Tamara, but mostly Shanice. Tyler's voice stuck out to me, but like her presence didn't stick out to me, like her stage presence.
Yeah, I think for me, it would be Tyler's voice and Tamara's presence.
Yeah. Yeah, I
think.
agree with that.
I think that's like, those are like the two that I remember like being really impressed with.
When they got into deliberations, it was really interesting to me that it was meant to be a 3-piece.
Yeah, and it ended up being 5.
Yeah, well, they're a 3-piece now.
I guess the vision worked out eventually. Oh, God.
But I thought that was interesting that, like, because we hadn't seen them say that previously in the episode, but they'd, like, all agreed on it. And Jesse was like, so we're not doing that, right? And everyone was like, yeah, no.
I feel like this lineup was just so hard. Like, this was kind of one where I really didn't know who they were going to go with.
Yeah, I didn't know. But they seemed to agree, like, really easily, like, more easily than I would have thought, considering the divide during auditions.
Yeah. It was very quick.
Also, like, it appeared to me that, like, they chose to not go based on looks, or to not, like, factor in looks. I noticed that throughout the rest of the competition. It's the height difference. Like, Esther and Shanice are just so tall.
Yeah.
I was always distracted by it.
Yeah, that never really bothered me, honestly. Like, I never really paid attention to it. I did at first.
It always bothered me in their stage formations.
Yeah, I can see how it would throw off the stage formations.
I mean, ultimately, like, again, like, that shouldn't matter. But I was always distracted by it. That's kind of my thoughts. Do you have anything to add?
Did we see in the other 2 episodes the group talking in the dressing room before?
Yeah.
We did?
I think so.
I don't remember that. Unless I just wasn't paying attention and, like, didn't pick up on it until now.
I don't think it was, maybe it wasn't all of them in the dressing room, but I remember the mixed group. I remember seeing, or I thought I remembered seeing, oh crap, I'm going to forget their names. Rosie and help.
Melina,
thank you. I thought I remembered them doing, like, a talking head interview backstage together. Maybe I'm imagining that.
Maybe. I don't remember. I just noticed it here and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like how they showed them kind of giving each other a pep talk.
I know that they do it for all the future episodes. I'm trying to remember if they did it with the boy band.
Yeah, I just don't remember seeing it. And, like, I'm getting kind of later episodes mixed in with the last episode, so I'm trying to, like, remember which ones we've just recently watched.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting because I had never picked up on that before. And then at the end, how they each had, like, their individual quotes too. Like each member of the group. I thought that was cool.
All right. Well, those are our thoughts for episode 3 of The Search. I personally think that this was the most interesting episode so far. Not because I was, like, in love with any of the, like, people in particular, but because I just liked the little insights into their dynamics, Little Mixes.
Yeah.
The Search for me is just, like, a character study of Little Mix.
I feel like this episode was very, what's the word? I don't want to say dramatic, but it was very, I don't want to say important either because all the episodes were important to them. But passionate. I feel like this one, yeah, I feel like this episode was very, like, the girls were very passionate towards this one because they were basically making, like, themselves almost. Like, I feel like that relayed a lot throughout the episode.
Yeah, I feel like it was interesting because I feel like they were trying to make themselves this episode with this group. But then, I mean, like, spoiler alert, when they make Melodies, I feel like that's the group they actually like connected with.
Yeah, like their intentions were for this group to represent them almost, and then
yeah, and then it ended
in
up
the
being
long run,
Melody's.
yeah, definitely. I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, same. All right, so that is our overall thoughts for episode number 3. Let us know what you guys thought down below. Any like additions that you really loved, anyone you wish had made the group or hadn't made the group. If you thought any of the dynamic stuff was interesting the way I did, because I like to overanalyze things. Yeah, so just let us know down below, and we will see you guys next week.